he would leave me. Not for something like that, but it happened. My name is Vanessa. I am 32 years old, and I suppose this is my confession. It has been a few weeks now since it all went down, and I still cannot quite believe it. I didn't mean to push him that far. Honestly, I just wanted him to get a grip. I am just saying. He didn't need to act like that. We have been through worse, right? But when I told him to man up in front of our friends, that was the moment he cracked. And I still don't get it. We were at the Harrisons' house. A nice dinner party. Expensive wine, dim lighting, the kind of evening where you are supposed to be happy. All of us were laughing and drinking, like we always do. My husband, Lucas, was just sitting there, being quiet. Lucas is not a big talker. I knew that when I married him. He is an actuary. He deals with risks, numbers, calculations. He is steady. Boring, if I am being honest, but steady. But that night, he wasn't even saying anything about the game on the television. Normally, he would join in on the conversation or make some dry, sarcastic comment. But he was just sitting there, staring into his beer glass like he had the weight of the world on his shoulders. I guess it kind of annoyed me. I mean, look at me. I have a demanding job in marketing. I have to look good all the time. I have to charm clients. We have bills. Things are hard, sure. But I am over here handling everything. Making sure our social life doesn't die. Trying to make sure the house doesn't fall apart. So, what was his deal? Why was he acting like such a mess? At first, I tried to be subtle. I would throw him a few sharp glances, like, "Come on, Lucas, talk to me. Don't embarrass me." But he didn't budge. He just sat there, swirling that amber liquid in his glass, completely checked out. It was starting to feel like I was the only one trying to make the night fun. And then, my phone buzzed in my clutch purse. I knew who it was. Damon. Just seeing his name flash on the screen gave me a rush that Lucas hadn't given me in 5 years. Damon was exciting. Damon was loud. Damon was everything Lucas wasn't. I looked at Lucas again. He looked pathetic. Just slumped there. So, when the conversation lulled, and everyone was looking at him expecting a response to a question he hadn't even heard, I just said it. I don't even remember what I said before, but I just blurted out. "Oh, for God's sake, man up, Lucas." I think I laughed. I think I was joking. But honestly, who am I kidding? I wasn't. I was frustrated. I was comparing him to Damon in my head, and he was losing. Everyone laughed. A nervous, titillating laughter that rippled through the room. But Lucas, he just froze. He looked at me. Not with anger, not with annoyance. He looked at me like I had just slapped him across the face in front of everyone. It wasn't funny. At least, not to him. He just stared at me for a moment. A long, stretching moment where the air seemed to be sucked out of the room. And then, he looked away. It was like the whole room went silent. People were still talking, trying to cover the awkwardness, but I could hear my heartbeat thumping in my ears. I had seen Lucas get upset before, but never like this. He didn't say anything. He didn't defend himself. He didn't make a joke to diffuse the tension. He just stood up, calmly and deliberate. He placed his beer on the coaster, walked to the coat rack, put on his jacket, and walked out the front door. I couldn't believe it. What was that supposed to mean? He couldn't handle a joke? I had apologized a few times before for making dumb comments. I don't know. Maybe I just wanted him to be a little more like the guys on television. You know, tough, funny, strong. But that was just weird. He was acting like I had done something unforgivable. "Is he okay?" Sarah Harrison asked me, her eyes wide. "He's fine," I waved my hand dismissively, pouring myself another glass of wine. "He's just being dramatic. He'll get over it." I stayed at the party for another 2 hours. I wasn't going to let his tantrum ruin my night. I texted Damon. He left. "I'm bored. Miss you." Damon replied instantly with a picture that made me flush. I told myself I was justified. If Lucas was going to be a child, I was going to have my fun. But when I finally took an Uber home that night, the house was dark, pitch black. I expected him to be waiting up for me, ready to argue. I was ready for a fight. I had my points prepared. I was going to tell him he was hypersensitive. But the bedroom door was shut. He was asleep, or pretending to be. I stripped off my dress, brushed my teeth, and climbed into bed. I lay there, staring at his back. He was breathing steadily. He didn't move. He didn't turn around to ask how I got home. That was the first night of the silence, and I, in my arrogance, thought I had won. The next morning, I woke up ready for the apology. His apology? I went into the kitchen, expecting the usual tension. Usually, when we fought, Lucas would make coffee, but he would slam the cupboards a little too hard. He would sigh loudly. It was his passive-aggressive way of saying he was mad. But this morning? Silence. The coffee was made. It was sitting in the pot, hot and fresh. He was sitting at the table, eating toast and reading the news on his tablet. He was dressed for work. A crisp white shirt, a navy tie. He looked normal. "Morning," I said, testing the waters. He didn't look up. He just turned a page on his screen. "Morning," he said. His voice was flat, monotone. Not angry, just empty. "Are you still mad about last night?" I asked, pouring my coffee. "Because honestly, Lucas, you made a huge scene. It was embarrassing." He finally looked up. His eyes were clear. There was no redness, no sign of a sleepless night. He looked at me, and for a second, I felt a chill run down my spine. It was like he was looking through me, like I was a piece of furniture he had decided to sell. "I'm not mad, Vanessa," he said calmly. "I need to get to the office." And then he left. No kiss on the cheek, no have a good day, just the click of the door. I stood there, holding my mug, confused. He wasn't mad? Okay. Great. That meant I was right. He realized he was being ridiculous. The next few weeks were strange, but in a way that I convinced myself was amazing. Lucas stopped asking questions. Before, if I came home late, he would ask, "Where were you? Who were you with?" It used to annoy me. I felt suffocated. But now, nothing. I would come home at 9 o'clock, smelling of expensive cologne, Damon's cologne, and wine. Lucas would be in the living room, reading a book. "I'm home," I would announce. "Okay," he would say, without turning his head. I was with the girls. We lost track of time. A lie. A blatant lie. "Okay," he would repeat. He didn't check my phone. He didn't ask about the credit card bill, which was skyrocketing because I was buying new lingerie for Damon. He just paid it. I saw the notification. Paid in full. I felt like I had unlocked a cheat code to marriage. I had a husband who paid the bills, kept the house clean, and didn't demand anything from me emotionally. And I had Damon, who gave me the thrill, the passion, the validation I craved. Damon took me to hotels downtown. We drank champagne in the middle of the afternoon. I complained to him about Lucas. "He's such a doormat," I laughed, tracing the line of Damon's jaw. I literally told him to man up, and his reaction was to become a mute. It's pathetic, really. Damon laughed, that deep, rumbled laugh that made me feel small and feminine. "Sounds like you need a real man, Vanessa. Lucky you found me." I believed him. I believed I was the main character in this story, and Lucas was just the supporting actor who had forgotten his lines. But looking back now, I see the signs I missed. I see the things I chose to ignore because they didn't fit my narrative. I didn't notice that Lucas had stopped wearing his wedding ring around the house. I didn't notice that his home office, usually messy with papers, was becoming increasingly organized. Files disappeared, boxes were moved. I didn't notice that he stopped looking at me. I mean, really looking at me. Even when we were in the same room, his eyes would glide over me like I was a ghost. One evening, I tried to provoke him. The silence was starting to itch. It felt too heavy. We were eating dinner takeout Thai food because I couldn't be bothered to cook, and he hadn't offered. "So," I said, picking at my pad thai, "I was thinking of going to Vegas with the girls next weekend." This was a test. Vegas meant money. Vegas meant trouble. Usually, he would worry. He would ask about the budget. He took a sip of water. "Sure. Have fun. It's going to be expensive." I pushed. "That's fine," he said. "Are you even listening to me?" I snapped. "I said I'm going to Vegas." He set his fork down. He looked at me with that same terrifying calmness. "I heard you, Vanessa. You want to go to Vegas. Go. Do whatever you want. Why don't you care?" I demanded. "Do you not care what I do?" "I am eating my dinner," he said simply. And he went back to his noodles. I stormed out of the room. I called Damon. I needed to hear someone tell me I was desirable, that I mattered. But Damon didn't answer. He texted me an hour later. "Busy. Catch you later." I sat on the edge of the bed, feeling a weird knot in my stomach. I was free. I could do anything. So why did I feel like I was falling? Month 2. The atmosphere in the house shifted from peaceful to freezing. It wasn't just silence anymore. It was an absence. Lucas was there physically, but he was gone. He stopped eating dinner with me. When I came home, he would already be in the guest room. He had moved his things there because of his snoring, he said via text message. He didn't snore. I tried to bridge the gap. Not because I loved him, I told myself I didn't, but because his indifference was hurting my ego. I needed him to want me so I could reject him. That was the dynamic I understood. I bought a new dress. Tight, red, low cut. I walked into the living room where he was watching the news. What do you think? I spun around. For the charity gala next week. He glanced up for a fraction of a second. It fits. It fits? That's it? I put my hands on my hips. David from work said it looked stunning. I slipped. I said the name. My heart hammered against my ribs. I waited for the explosion. Who is Damon? Why is he seeing you in that dress? Lucas didn't even blink. That was nice of David. He didn't care. He actually didn't care. That night, I cried in the shower. I didn't know why. I had the affair, I had the freedom, but I felt like I was disappearing. And then, things with Damon started to crack. Damon wasn't interested in my emotional spiraling. He wanted the fun Vanessa, the sexy, carefree Vanessa. Not the Vanessa who was obsessing over why her husband wouldn't fight with her. You're talking about him again, Damon said one afternoon, rolling his eyes. We were in his car. I thought you said he was a bore. He is, I insisted. But it's weird, Damon. He's acting like he doesn't even know me. Maybe he's having an affair, Damon shrugged. That thought stopped me cold. Lucas? An affair? No. Impossible. Lucas was loyal to a fault. Lucas was the guy who returned extra change to the cashier. Who would want him? But the seed of doubt was planted. I started watching him. I checked his phone when he was in the shower. Nothing. No passcode change, no suspicious texts, just emails about work, news alerts, and a few messages from his sister. I checked his bank app. Nothing unusual. Just bills, groceries, gas. He was clean. He was perfect. And it was driving me insane. I decided I needed to fix it. I needed to reel him back in, just to prove I could. I decided that night I would seduce him. I would remind him of what he had. I would make him obsessed with me again, and then I would go back to Damon with my confidence restored. I waited until he came out of the guest room to get water. I was wearing nothing but one of his shirts, unbuttoned. I leaned against the counter, smiling that smile that used to make him stutter when we first met. Lucas, I purred. I'm lonely. I reached out to touch his arm. My fingers brushed his skin. And then it happened. He recoiled. He didn't just step back. He flinched. Like I was something filthy. Like I was a disease. He pulled his arm away so fast he almost knocked over a glass. Don't, he said. His voice was sharp. Dangerous. What? I stepped back, stung. I'm your wife. Don't touch me, he repeated. He looked at me with pure, unadulterated disgust. Do not touch me with those hands. What is that supposed to mean? I screamed, my shame turning into anger. My hands? You know exactly what I mean, he said. He looked at me, and for the first time in months, I saw emotion. It was hatred. Cold, calcified hatred. Go to bed, Vanessa. He walked away, leaving me standing in the kitchen, shivering in his shirt. He knew. He had to know. I didn't sleep that night. I paced the floor. If he knew, why didn't he scream? Why didn't he throw me out? The next morning, Saturday, he asked me to sit at the dining table. The table was clear, except for a large brown manila envelope. Lucas sat opposite me. He was wearing a suit. On a Saturday. What is this? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Are we finally going to talk? Yes, he said. We are. He slid the envelope across the polished wood. Open it. My hands were shaking. I opened the clasp and pulled out a stack of papers. Photos. Photos of me and Damon. Getting into his car. Walking into the hotel. Kissing at a cafe. Me, laughing with my head thrown back. Damon's hand on my waist. There were dates, times, locations, then bank statements. Highlighted lines. Hotel Ritz. Victoria's Secret. Fancy French bistro. And at the bottom, A document. Petition for dissolution of marriage. I stared at the papers. The words swam before my eyes. Adultery. Irreconcilable differences. You. You had me followed? I whispered. I looked up at him. You spied on me? I protected myself, Lucas said. His voice was devoid of warmth. I knew something was wrong the night of the party. You were disrespectful, but you were also distracted. You were checking your phone every 2 minutes. So, I checked the phone bill the next day. A lot of texts to a number I didn't recognize. It wasn't hard, Vanessa. You aren't exactly a mastermind. So, you just waited? I felt sick. You let me do this for months? Why? To humiliate me? No, he said. To be sure, and to get my ducks in a row. He leaned forward, clasping his hands. You told me to man up, remember? You wanted a strong man. A man who takes charge. Well, here I am. I spent the last 3 months separating our finances. I removed your name from the joint accounts. I spoke to a lawyer. I gathered evidence to ensure you don't get a dime of my inheritance or my retirement. You can't do that, I screeched. I'm your wife. Half of everything is mine. Not with the prenup we signed, he reminded me. The infidelity clause? You didn't read it carefully, did you? You were too busy planning the wedding. I felt the blood drain from my face. I remembered. I thought it was just a formality. Lucas, please, I started to cry. I didn't have to fake it, I was terrified. It was a mistake. He meant nothing. I was feeling lost. You were so distant. I was distant because you were cheating on me, he cut me off. Don't try to rewrite history, Vanessa. You cheated because you are selfish. You humiliated me in public because you are cruel. And you are crying now, not because you are sorry, but because you got caught and you are realizing the ATM is closing. I love you, I sobbed. We can fix this. I'll stop seeing him, I swear. He stood up. He looked so tall, so imposing. I don't love you, Vanessa, he said. I don't even like you anymore. The woman I loved wouldn't have done this. You are a stranger to me. He pointed to the door. My sister is coming over in an hour to help me pack the rest of the things I want to keep here. But honestly, the house is in your name. But the mortgage payments, well, I stopped paying those from my account last week. You'll have to figure that out. But you need to leave for today. I don't want you here while I work. You're kicking me out? No, he said. I'm leaving. But this, he gestured to the papers, this is happening. You will hear from my lawyer on Monday. Do not contact me directly. He walked to the door, opened it, and looked back at me one last time. You wanted a reaction, Vanessa. You wanted drama. Congratulations, you have it. The downfall wasn't slow. It was instantaneous. Lucas moved out that day. He took the car. It was leased in his name. He took the savings. He took the stability. I was left in a house I couldn't afford, with a closet full of clothes I had no occasion to wear. I called Damon immediately. I drove to his apartment, crying, mascara running down my face. He knows, I told Damon, standing in his hallway. He's divorcing me. He took everything. Damon looked uncomfortable. He was wearing sweatpants, holding a video game controller. Whoa, he said. That's heavy. I know, I sniffled, reaching for him. But at least we can be together now. We don't have to hide. I can stay here for a while, right? Until I sell the house? Damon took a step back. The same way Lucas had. Vanessa, look. You're great. We had fun. But I'm not looking for a roommate or a serious relationship. I thought you knew that. What? I stared at him. But you said I deserved better. Yeah, like in bed. He shrugged. I didn't mean I wanted to pay your mortgage. I can't get involved in a messy divorce, babe. I have a reputation. A reputation? I laughed hysterically. You're a personal trainer, Damon. What reputation? Okay. You need to go, he said, his face hardening. You're acting crazy. He closed the door in my face. I stood in the hallway, listening to the lock click. I was alone. The next few months were a blur of legal battles I was destined to lose. Lucas wasn't playing games. His lawyer was a shark. They presented the photos, the texts, the spending history. I tried to paint Lucas as emotionally abusive. He gave me the silent treatment, I told the judge. He ignored me for months. It was psychological torture. The judge, a stern woman with glasses, looked at me over her spectacles. Mrs. Sterling, she said, you are arguing that your husband's refusal to engage with you while you were actively committing adultery constitutes abuse? Yes, I said. He was punishing me. It sounds to me like he was exercising restraint, the judge said dryly. I lost. I got nothing. No alimony. No claim to his pension. I had to sell the house to pay off the credit card debt. I had racked up debt that was legally mine because the cards were in my name. Lucas didn't even show up for the final hearing. He sent his lawyer. He had already moved on. It has been 6 months. I live in a small apartment on the edge of the city. It smells like damp carpet and someone else is cooking. I work as a receptionist at a dental clinic because the marketing world didn't want a scandal-ridden woman who badmouthed her ex-husband on social media. Yes, I did that too. In a moment of wine-fueled desperation, I posted a long rant on Facebook about how Lucas was a cold-hearted monster. It backfired. Mutual friends, the ones at the party, commented. They defended him. Vanessa, you told him to man up and then cheated on him. Stop. And experie's on. I deleted the account. I saw Lucas yesterday. It was the first time since the day with the envelope. I was walking to the bus stop. I take the bus now, and I saw him coming out of a coffee shop. He looked good. He had grown a beard. It suited him. He looked tougher. Stronger. He was laughing. He was holding hands with a woman. She was plain. She wore no makeup, just a simple sweater and jeans. But she was looking at him like he was the sun, and he was looking at her like she was the only person in the world. He looked happy. I wanted to run over there. I wanted to scream. I wanted to shake him and say, I made you. I pushed you to change. That beard, that confidence, that's because of me. But I froze. He looked up and saw me. My heart stopped. I waited for the anger. I waited for the pity. I waited for him to look away. He didn't look away. He looked right at me. He didn't smile. He didn't frown. He just offered a small, polite nod. A nod you would give to a stranger you accidentally made eye contact with on the street. Then he turned back to the woman, said something that made her laugh, and they walked away together. He didn't care. He wasn't punishing me anymore. He had forgotten me. I stood there on the cracked pavement, clutching my cheap purse. The wind was cold. I realized then that the silence hadn't ended. It had just become permanent. I wanted him to man up, and he did. He became the man I always wanted him to be, but he did it for himself, and he did it to leave me behind. I watched them disappear around the corner. Man up, Chad, I whispered to the empty street, using the wrong name, confusing my past with my present, my lies with my reality. I turned and walked toward the bus stop. I had a long ride home to an empty apartment, and the quiet, God, the quiet is the loudest thing in the world.